No comment sets. Oh, that brings me back.
What free headsets do we have? Let's see. All right. We are on the air. Ready to go?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of.
A little bit.
Make sure I have the right date on the outline. Hello and welcome to episode 771 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, August 17th, 2021. I'm your host, Chris Johnston, and with me as always from Canada is Mr. Greg Seward.
Hello.
How's it going, sir?
I don't want to brag, but I'm the only Little League coach I know that's undefeated.
Wow.
How many games have you been coach for?
I have been a coach for 100% of the games I've coached.
And how many is that, sir?
It was one today,
Just one.
and they won. I mean, the kids were instrumental. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to take all the glory, just 80%.
Well, of course, you wouldn't want to
Those
do
8 kids were lucky to have me as a coach.
that. It's not the coaching they received before you joined.
Right.
It's from today onward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who's the best one on the team? You can't say your kid.
Not my kid.
You can't. Everybody.
They're all
Say
great.
your kid.
They're all great.
Like if I was a dad in this situation, I'd be like, son, listen, you got to be more like Charles over there. This kid's hitting home runs out of the park.
No.
And he's cool and he wears his cap backwards. You got to be more like Charles.
That's
I
right.
didn't raise a loser, son.
I'll tell you
like that.
what I have learned from having kids in sports is that anything I say gets ignored completely. So what I do now is, like, if I see something that I think one of my kids needs to work on, I go talk to the coach. Say, listen, this is what I think. But if I say it, they'll immediately do the opposite because I'm their father.
Right.
Not that they're like that in real life, but it's something to do with sports. I don't know what it is. You know,
What do you know,
at home,
Dad?
if I ask them to do something, they do it. But so, yeah, like, you know, and as far as critiquing them, I'll just say, like, how do you think you did? And if they think they did great, it's like, great. I think you were great too. And we're
Really?
done.
That easy?
And then if they say, I think I could have done this better, it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's good. You gotta, you know, a little self-critique once in a while is good.
I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
Yeah. Well, now that we're talking about your flaws,
going.
I've got a list.
Yeah. My dad's been to one Little League game ever in my whole entire life, and I filled him with shame. It was a you know, my dad is a Spaniard. He loves his soccer, or what he likes to call it, football. And we had like this indoor football like thing, and I scored a goal. Like I was into it. Like I kicked the ball, bam, and nobody was cheering. Again, like I'm 6 years old.
Oh no!
I hit it in my own team's goal. And my father tried to act like he didn't know me. This kid is not my son.
I have no son.
Exactly.
Well, when you're young, you get excited about being near the goal.
Hey.
You just, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, apparently I was the only one, because even the kids were like, what the hell is this?
My Little League career was spent in left field counting daisies and stuff. Like I didn't do anything.
Oh yeah, I was terrible.
That was terrible. Yeah.
I was pretty good at baseball. I was the catcher, and I was like the power hitter. People liked me there.
Nice.
But
All
other
right.
than that, yeah, I could have went pro, is what I was trying to say.
Hey, you know what? Who could prove you wrong?
There you go. There you go. And joining us this week, very special guest from the Trophy Room podcast, Mr. Badbit, aka Joseph Moran. Hello, sir.
Hi, what's up, guys?
How's it going?
I'm doing pretty darn well. I was very excited when you asked me to be on the show, because y'all have been getting me through this global panorama. I've been listening since early 2020, nonstop. Like I don't miss a week. So it's surreal to be here right now. So I'm ecstatic.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You,
Yeah.
of course, are the host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast for the players by the players. You want to tell us a little bit about the show?
Oh man, you got half the plug right there.
Just-
That's
just-
catching me off guard, CJ. So yes, I host a little show called The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where usually me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation each and every Thursday. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, video version on YouTube, wherever you find your podcast services. We're there. And yeah, it's been an amazing past 2 years with the show and how it's grown and the community that we've been making. It's something really special. So make sure you check out the Trophy Room. But I'm also excited about talking with you guys on Player One.
Well, you're a youngster compared to us oldsters, so you can bring the young, fresh, hip perspective.
I don't think so. I feel like I'm an old soul. I can't. We got like this guy, like I think there's a rapper called like 6ix9ine Confetti. I don't know. Then he's like the new one, and everybody loves him.
Oh my god.
The indication that you're really getting old is when you see the guest list for Saturday Night Live and you neither know the musical guest or the actor.
The indication that you're really getting old is when you have to fill out an online form, and when it gets to birth year, you have to scroll.
Yes,
Oh man,
I've
Like
gotten
a long
there.
way.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no. People that are like from 1997 are like 23 now. What is this? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's nuts to me. But I'm
And
also with
CJ's
their
over there calling 30-year-olds youngsters. So
few weeks away. It's nuts. Like there's an
Whippersnappers.
Anthony Charlemagne, I think his name is. He was on SNL.
Maybe
I had no idea. The
I
man
don't
was
know.
a child. I was like, that's a toddler on stage. So I'm there.
All right, well, let's talk about some video game news as we do on this show. And the first thing I wanted to bring up is the rumor that 3 Grand Theft Auto games are being remastered and re-released for all the systems and PC. So GTA 3 Vice City and San Andreas are part of the rumor. What do you guys think about this? And more importantly, would you like to revisit these titles as remastered?
absolutely. When I saw this, I was like super excited. I also thought it was interesting how many people I saw on Twitter were saying, "Yes, I would love to play the first 3 Grand Theft Auto games again." And it's like, but those are
GTA 3.
It starts with GTA
Starts with
3.
3.
But I mean, it's the first 3 anybody really cared all that much about.
Yeah, true.
But my only concern would be getting all the licenses for all the music, because
Yes.
the music, I mean, it was important in GTA 3, but in Vice City and San Andreas for sure. Oh my God, the music was everything in those games.
Mhm.
So if they can't get licenses for most, if not all, of the tracks that were in the game originally, I'd definitely be disappointed on that.
For me, now this is where I bring the youth energy. All right, ready for this? It starts with San Andreas. Like that is the one that my parents buckled on, because I remember going to the Blockbuster trying to do like Grand Theft Auto, I think Vice City, and trying to convince them and the store clerk that it was for my brother and not for me, and me trying to at the like the latest of night trying to play it, but being too scared my parents would walk in and get very upset at me. And so San Andreas is the one where it to me, that's where the music is. It's there. Like that's the most defining music in a Grand Theft Auto is San Andreas, and that is super important. I want to play Andreas more than any of them, and I would love if they had that co-op from the PS2 era. Not the where it's like you're tied to each other, you can't go for like 50 feet away from each other, but like untethered. I would absolutely love that. That would be amazing.
But also, you're excited about San Andreas because the main character's name is CJ, right? That's what this
I mean,
is.
that's part of it.
Right, I forgot about that.
That's
Is it
definitely
wrong
part of it.
to admit that I've never played any of these?
Really?
Oh man,
Okay,
I really
played
didn't play much San
any of these.
Andreas. I think I was just kind of, I don't know what it was about that game. I liked it, but I just never got too much into it, but my God, GTA 3 and Vice City, I played so much
Vice
of
City
those.
was so huge too, and I
Mm.
remember. I think I watched you play a lot of it.
I did a lot of
Or at
EGM's
least heard
coverage
you
for that game.
because the music was just so good in
Yeah.
Vice City.
Yeah, still got the
What
CD
was-
box set over there.
What's the iconic soundtrack from Vice City? I'm trying to jog the old memory
See,
here.
it depends, right? Because I mean, they had the different themed stations. There was new wave, there was pop, there was Spanish. I don't know if there was any hip hop or not. There was talk radio, there were love songs. And the thing was too that really drew it all together was the VJs. Oh my God, the DJs.
DJs.
Yeah, thinking of Much Music and MTV. The DJs really drew it all together, which they kind of did in GTA 3 as well. But I mean, with GTA 3, the personality on the radio that mattered was Laszlo, and there was like this whole talk radio. Which, by the way, if you haven't ever done it, go listen to the talk radio station track from GTA 3 because it's pretty brilliantly written. It goes, I don't know how long it is in total. Let's just say an hour, but it's a 1 hour loop that's constantly calling back to other callers and referencing other things that have happened. And the guy who wrote, or the guy who voices it, Laszlo, is one of the writers on the game. And I believe he wrote for GTA 3 and San Andreas as well. I don't know if he went much further.
I think,
anyway,
4 and 5 as well. He recently left.
But then with Vice City, they really leaned into it. And all of the DJs had a lot of personality. And actually one of them, I think the guy who ran the love song station was one of the people he interviewed in the GTA 3 soundtrack as well. And like the stations were just as much about their personalities as they were about the music, which was really nice.
Yeah. I like the top-down GTA games.
Really?
The first two.
For me, my ultimate GTA memory is San Andreas. And I was like in the middle of like a 5-star police chase. And like I'm running over a whole bunch of people, and the music that's playing, and I'm at my friend's Dave's house, and the music that's playing is Rod Stewart. And my friend's like, dude, change the channel. And I'm just like in the zone. I'm like, no, man, I love listening to Rod Stewart as I kill. Was the quote. So many great memories. But CJ, question. Where did you enter GTA? Because if it wasn't
the first
GTA
one,
3, that's it.
The
He
first
played
one.
the old top-down ones.
Played
He's
the
not
top-down
kidding when he
ones.
says that he likes the old top-down ones.
I'm not kidding. No.
Oh wow! I tried it as a kid. I couldn't.
Me neither.
Yeah. Other people wanted on those reviews, so I just kind of let them go.
Well, I mean, it
wasn't a game for me.
It was interesting. It was one of those series that in the era that I was working at Ziff Davis, and CJ, you were there, that we got to sort of watch them create a genre,
popular.
really.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, I mean, we all knew what Grand Theft Auto was, but Grand Theft Auto 3, I remember hearing rumors about it before we got a playable, and then getting it and being like, oh my God, there's nothing like this. You know, like, did Shenmue come out before that? I think it might have.
Yeah, like during the time. Yeah.
But it wasn't really anything like Shenmue. I mean, just the sheer size of the island and all the things you could do. And the thing that I loved about that game that actually was one of the problems I had with like Red Dead Redemption 2 or whatever that one was that came out recently was you could totally cheese your way through missions if you couldn't succeed properly. You could be really creative. It's like, you know, there's this one guy that you're supposed to, I don't know, drive over with your car or something, but the game would just as easily let you go find the guy and shoot him with a sniper rifle from like 3 blocks away.
Right.
And it would still say the mission was complete. Like, you know, it was just very much a wide open sort of sandbox. Just make your way through however you can, or, you know, drive a car into a space where a mission is about to take place, and then when the mission happens, you've got this advantage because you've got your car parked right there, or something like just stuff like that was all over those games, which is one of the things I just loved about them.
Well, and then other games started taking that same gameplay loop, right? Jak 2 was basically like Grand Theft Auto and Jak.
I think that one I think was Jak 3 was like that.
Was it really? No,
Yeah.
No, it's Jack
no,
2, I think.
Jack
Is
2.
it?
Jack 2
Yeah.
started it. Maybe Jack 3 was similar.
Maybe, because that was the other one that I was allowed to play as a kid, and I would do very similar things as well.
Run people over.
Yep.
Yeah.
With my hover bike,
While listening to Rod Stewart.
Oh,
I see a
This-
pattern emerging
Every
here.
color has a pattern.
Mr. Coffee saying it was Jack 3. Maybe you're right.
Oh,
I don't
maybe
remember.
it is.
I checked out of the Jack series after the first one.
Jack 2 had open world stuff in it.
Did
though.
it? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Well, let's move along and talk about Nintendo's Indie World Showcase, which they had last week on Wednesday. Clearly, the standout game here is going to be Tetris Effect Connected, right?
Fair.
And full disclosure, I work for Enhance,
Yeah.
so but who's excited that that's on Switch? Me.
I am.
Stand up.
I love Tetris Effect. We were talking about it on the trophy room when we had you on this week. That
Indeed.
Tetris Effect is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Tetris game just ever.
Such a
I
fun
love
game.
the music. Yeah, absolutely.
Heck
Like
yeah.
the first and the last score is just phenomenal. I love Tetris Effect.
So now that we know all of us are going to buy Tetris Effect Connected on
Yeah.
Switch, we can talk about the other games in this indie world. And they kicked it off with Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which for the opening few seconds, I really thought this was Jet Set Radio remake. It looks so much like it. It's a
really wanna try it.
spiritual successor, but it's like it may as well be a sequel kind of thing because it seems like they took a lot of elements from Jet Set Radio into this game, but it looks great.
Yeah.
Hopefully it plays well.
That's the real challenge there. But yeah, hopefully. And it's got some of the same people doing the music as
Mhm.
well. So that's a good sign.
So Rob Zombie. There's going to be some Rob Zombie in
No
there.
Rob Zombie.
Rob
No.
Zombie was in the first one.
Well, Dragula was in everything,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
to be
That's true.
fair.
It was the early
Around that time.
2000s. Yeah.
Was Dragula in a Grand Theft Auto game? Had to have been, right?
Had to have
I
been.
don't know.
It was one of those songs that just immediately went in.
Yeah, but I
every
feel like the
single
Grand Theft
video
Auto,
game.
because Grand Theft Auto
licensed
games were
music.
period pieces during the time Dragula was popular. It's like you
That's
weren't going to get it
true.
in the 80s or the 90s, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Did you
This
guys
will
watch
be my first Jet Set though game.
it'll
ever.
be your first
Yeah.
in that style?
Yeah, never have. I never owned a Dreamcast, always wanted one. So I am actually super stoked to play this, see what it's like.
Yeah.
Here's so much good stuff about it. Yeah.
Looks super cool.
Super stylish, at least.
And we got some shadow drops as well. Axiom Verge 2 came out. What else came out? Necrobarista Final Pour, Boyfriend
What is
Dungeon.
that?
Necrobarista?
Yeah.
It's like a visual novel adventure type
Okay.
game. Boyfriend Dungeon, Islanders.
Keep hearing a lot about that one too.
Which one?
Boyfriend Dungeon.
Yeah. Seems cool.
Played about 30 minutes of it. Already
any
fell in
good?
love. Yeah,
Yeah?
actually. Yeah, there's definitely some, as the kids say, himboos in it, which is just gentleman lovers, I
Oh,
assume.
okay.
And actually like some cool like top-down like dungeon action. It's pretty it's got a pretty unique vibe because it kind of feels like a Persona, almost like that type of
Okay.
like Japanese anime like written style where the art itself is just super unique to what it is. So
It's like an
like it
action
so far.
game, right? Like you
Yeah,
It's
it's
an
an
RPG.
action dating sim. It's
okay, and your
it's like you
weapons
move
real
into
are
San Francisco, and the thing that all the kids love to do is they love to go into the malls and fight like monsters with their boyfriends that are actually weapons.
weapons, right?
Yeah.
That's the hook to that game.
Mhm.
And then Garden Story and Slime Rancher were also shadow drops.
Is that Slime Rancher a new game?
No,
Okay.
it's
Portable
called the
edition?
Portable Edition, but I
Yeah.
think it's
Okay. Just because my youngest daughter is a big Slime Rancher fan, so
oh yeah.
I didn't know if
Okay.
this was something I needed to get her or not.
I don't know what the differences are on that one actually.
It's portable.
It's portable though. Correct. And then we got a couple of other announcements of games coming soon, like Eastward, which is an RPG that looks really interesting. Very detailed hand-drawn animation in the hand-drawn backgrounds.
It looks nice, but to me, I'm like the only person on the internet. First off, indie games have to bend backwards to impress me.
Yeah.
And like looking at this one, I don't know what it does necessarily differently that what I see a lot of like, top-down Zelda-esque games looking like. So this one
Yeah.
didn't wow me that much.
I'm going to have to see what reviews are on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the art style a lot, but what's the gameplay like? Is there too much reading? Because that's really
who wants that?
Not me.
a consideration for me. If there's too much reading, forget about it.
Mhm.
Far Changing Tides got announced. That's the sequel to Far Lone Sails, which I've heard really great things about, and I need to play it.
Are there
at some
pirates?
point. It
Oh.
involves sailing, sure.
Not everything involves pirates that involves sailing.
I don't think there's pirates here.
Okay.
Were there pirates in the
I
trailer?
don't know.
Why don't you know? Damn it! Come on. We got another look at Metal Slug Tactics, which continues to look pretty good.
It really
It looks
does.
great.
Shovel Knight little puzzle game. It's called Pocket Dungeon, where you actually like get into the play field and make matches that way. Kind of looks interesting.
Yeah.
And Toem, which is like a black and white narrative adventure game where you take pictures. It's like a photography game, like a Pokemon Snap sort of thing in black and white.
So
That's where indie games lose me, where they get real artsy, and I'm like,
You don't
what-
like the
like-
artsy.
I don't like. It's like when you look at a picture, it's like, what do you think this painting represents? And I'm like, colors. I don't know. I'm taking a picture of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not abstract enough to get it. That's what this one kind of reminded me of, because it seems like you're also moving within the like this 2D plane, but when you peer into the camera, you get to see in 3D. It's interesting, but yeah,
I thought this one looked a little too close to Chicory. Like it looked
I
very
get
much very reminiscent to that, but without color, of course.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's get into the next news story, and that, of course, is Idris Elba announcing that he is going to be Knuckles in the Sonic 2 movie.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Great. I like Idris Elba. He's good in everything else.
Everything these
Why
in?
not?
Yeah, sure.
I'm excited about the next Sonic movie. The first one was fun. So sure, bring it on.
Yeah.
I wonder if they keep half that cast. Every time I think of because Sonic, the first movie was, I think, a surprise of how much people actually dug it. And a lot of that cast was so throwaway. Like, obviously they spent all the money on casting on Jim Carrey. And that was obvious.
What, not James Marsden?
James. I mean, he was Cyclops once.
I mean, that's true. And we
can't. A long time ago.
And what they did to him in X-Men 3 was a travesty. But like, even him, it's like, okay. Like, I thought his girlfriend was just so bad. I hated that arc so much. But, looking at Idris in here, I am excited to see who else that they add to the cast, hopefully of like note, because this gives me hope that they actually have a bigger budget than, fixing up Sonic's face. First one.
Who's playing Amy? Or Big the Cat?
Big the Cat. Yeah. Charmy B. Where's
Charmy B?
Played by Cardi
I assume
B.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Charmy B played by Cardi B. There you go. Done.
Cardi B.
Yeah. I still haven't seen the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Oh my God.
That one you can miss, CJ.
Somehow I missed it.
I think your daughter would enjoy it.
I think she's already seen it.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it. She's seen it.
Do you spend any time with your kid?
I do.
Okay.
We sail all the time on Sea of Thieves.
Oh Jesus! Do you spend any time with your kid doing something she wants to do?
Yes, all the time. All the time.
I thought you were gonna be. We play Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And she
she's
loves
actually
it.
she's playing Dragon Quest Builders 2 again, all the way
Oh, wow.
through by herself.
She loves that game.
She's pretty far into it. Yeah, she does love that game. They better make a third game because she needs more of it. I think the director of 1 and 2 left Square fairly recently. So I told her I'm not so sure we're going to get a 3. She was very upset.
And she just looked at. She's like, "Dad, make it happen.
Make it happen." Did I tell the story on the show? There was like she had seen a streamer play and they had something that was in a DLC pack. And she looked it up on the internet how she could get it in her game, and there was no way to do it except for buying the DLC. So she wrote a letter to the developers and gave it to me to take a picture of and then send to the developers. So instead, I bought her the DLC. And she started playing it. She's like, "Oh my God, the developers listened. They added this to my game." So then, like, the next thing was some other thing that wasn't in the game. She wrote another letter to the developers, and I was like, "Oh," I looked at it. I was like, "This one might take a while." Game development, you know.
I like how your daughter knows you have something to do with this industry. She
You make
doesn't know
video
what, but she's like, maybe my father's a mover and shaker. Let's see what he can do.
And
Well,
CJ
all
doesn't
right.
want to disappoint her, so he's just going to keep the ruse up as long
Absolutely.
as possible.
Let's keep it
Exactly.
going.
See,
Yeah.
my daughter got into, because when I was still doing games, we were doing a lot of preschool stuff for different licenses and stuff like that, and she knew that, right? And so now anytime there's a cartoon show that she likes, "Daddy, you should make a game about this." And I'm like, "Well, I'd like to, but honey, like, we don't just get to choose." I think it's Teen Titans is the big thing for her. Teen Titans Go. She has some great ideas for a Teen Titans Go game, and I was like, "That's awesome, but we don't own that. Like, we can't just go ahead and make it."
She's like, "Dad,
you know,
make it. I
Yeah.
don't care how many work hours you have
Yeah.
to make. Make this
Just-
happen."
I'm just going to tell her to send a letter to CJ.
No, don't do that.
I know
I
a
can't-
guy who knows
I
a
know.
guy.
Exactly.
She's like, "I don't care how much you have to crunch, Dad.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
spotless. I want this game."
Tell her to get together with a group of her friends and make a fan game, and eventually she'll get a cease and
A
desist
cease and
letter.
desist, yeah. It'll really crush her spirit.
That's right.
And it's from Nintendo, and they're like, Nintendo doesn't even know the IP there.
Yeah.
Just
exactly.
to prove a point.
That's right.
Send it
That's
out.
where all cease and desist letters come from Nintendo.
It's fact.
All right. And wanted to finish out the news with this news that Powerslave is being remastered and re-released in a package called Powerslave Exhumed, which includes both the Saturn and PlayStation version.
So is it including both, or is it elements of both? I read that as elements of both.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, I want to say
Expect me to
congratulations
know.
on the wordplay of the title, because of course this game was called Exhumed on other parts of the planet,
Right.
but also, you know, Exhumed is a good word for a remake,
For a
or something
remaster.
like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited about this.
PlayStation and Saturn versions combined.
Yeah, because I think the level design was different
Right.
in those.
Right,
But
right.
I played Powerslave recently, actually, the Saturn version, and it still holds up really well. It's a cool game. It's well done. There's like a lot of exploration and sort of backtracking through older levels when you get new powers, and it's got this great ancient Egyptian theme to it. And it's also, I think it was the first game, at least I remember noticing, by Lobotomy Software, which were just doing miracles on the Saturn as far as 3D games went, and they ended up doing the ports of Duke Nukem and Quake on the Saturn as well, I think because of Powerslave. And then they were bought by some company and yeah.
Relegated to whatever.
Yeah, spiraled into oblivion. But I think they were making casino games or something after that, which is obviously a great use of a talent for a team like that. But anyway, yeah, very excited about that. Yeah, I can't wait to play this. It's a really good game.
The original Powerslave came out at a time when people were really looking for consoles to have a Doom style game of their own.
Yeah,
because Doom was so big on PC.
I mean, this is the first I'm hearing of this game, and I'm looking at pictures right now. Okay, and I have to say, and I'm gonna make this announcement and nay, a demand. So CJ, write this down. Tell the developers.
Shit. Hold on, let me get my pen.
All right, thank you.
Charlotte can write it.
Yeah, Charlotte can write it. She knows how to pen a letter. It looks like she's getting things done. I need a Dark Forces game. Like I need a Star Wars Dark Forces, whether it's a remaster, remake. That was their answer to Doom back in the day. It was straight a.
They did do a Dark
Doom
Forces.
clone.
They did re-release it,
but only on
PlayStation,
PC,
right? No, on PlayStation.
No, it was on consoles.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm checking the PlayStation app because if this is happening, my phone's off for good reason.
I'm
if
pretty
this
sure
is true,
they did it.
Yeah, they definitely re-released Dark Forces.
Oh my God, where
and
have
Jedi
I been?
Knight and Jedi Knight 2 and Jedi Academy.
The Academy game's fantastic.
Yep.
But I hear I think because there is an online portion to it that is up right now, but it's very broken and like people can see your IP address or something crazy. But yeah,
seems like an oversight.
A little bit of an oversight, some would say. And so yeah, now I need to look up this.
Apparently, Dark Forces is not on the PlayStation Store, even though Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy are.
So it's only like I'm thinking GOG. Right? Like, let's see.
No, I thought it was on console.
Someone in the chat is saying that it's on PS3. Namava is saying it's on PS3. Oh, but that's PS Classics, so that's like the PlayStation 1 version of it. But I know it was re-released.
Okay.
Let's go do the research right now. This is great radio.
Yes.
Why not?
This is one of the best shooters of our time. We need to. IGN gave it a 5 out of 10. You don't just see 5s out of 10s like that.
They didn't. Okay, Jeff Grubb saying they didn't do it on console. Damn. That's too bad.
All right, pen and letter.
Yep. CJ, get right.
Going. All right, we'll get .emu on the case. Make a new one,
please. Please.
It's .emu.
Because I remember as a kid just watching my brother play it, and he would just hog the keyboard and mouse. He wouldn't let little Joe play. No.
I remember watching friends play that game because I didn't have a PC that would run it.
We had a little thing, I don't like to brag, called a Packard Bell. And that thing was a mean machine. It played all of them. Yeah.
Yikes. My friends had 386s and 486s and all that, and I did not get into that. I had my Apple II GS and a Mac, and you don't play games on Macs. Everybody knows. So I had to go to a friend's to play like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter and all those
Another great
games.
Game.
Yeah.
Another great game. Yeah. Also, Jeff said Aspire did the other ports. They did a fantastic job of Republic Commando, by the way.
I have heard that. Yes.
Yeah, it's stellar. Very easy platinum for those who are interested. It's fantastic. Still holds up.
Good deal. Well, the news is finished, so we will get on to what you've been playing. Joe, since you are our guest, why don't you kick us off?
I've been playing 2 games, but one really the most. It's been I started it on Friday. I technically beat it on Saturday night, but there's still so much to do. I've been playing a lot of this little indie game called Hades. Have you guys heard about this game?
I've heard of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So CJ, I was talking to you on the trophy room this week about it, and I was curious of how it would live up to the hype because everybody's, been praising this game, multiple Game of the Year award wins and all that.
And also you want to take it with a grain of salt. You don't want to like overhype it for yourself.
Because that's usually what happens.
Yeah.
Like everybody be like, oh, Joe, you have to try, for example, the first Axiom Verge. I was like, oh yeah, this is great, but I don't know if I'm really sticking with it. this is the first game that like it's met the hype. It's something fantastic. And as someone who started their roguelite, journey with Returnal, believe it or not, that's what I got. Pretty much the foundation of like this is the idea of what a roguelite should be. I feel like this thing is writing the 10 commandments of what a roguelite must bring to the table from here on out. Like, I think this is easily genre defining. It's all about getting from point A to point B to point C all the way to Z, all just totally randomized, randomly generated, all that jazz. And the thing that makes Hades really unique is, you're in the Greek pantheon, you're a pretty much unknown god. I think I just make his name short, Zag, for short. You're the son of Hades. Yeah. And you're trying to find, again, I'll just say the pot of gold at the end, because the story is something special. I don't want to ruin it for a little bit. But the thing that makes it really cool is it feels like the perfect way to progress in a roguelike, where you feel like you overcome a challenge or you beat a boss, not just because of the items that you found along the way, because you'll enter these rooms that give you different power-ups that power up Zag or power up his armor, but it'll also feel like you overcame that obstacle, that you're learning as alongside the progression of that character, and you're learning what these abilities do, and at times you're just kind of like coming to terms with what they do, or trying to make do with what they do rather. And it's just such a well-paced game, because there's never a time where I die that doesn't feel like it's on me, and there's never a time that I succeed in a boss fight going, yeah, that was just luck. It feels earned. It's the reason why I love like Souls games so much. It's because I'm like, I learned this pattern, I learned this fight, and that's why I overcame it. The grind, that was just a small part of it. So I'm really loving Hades, man. It is absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. Supergiant, man. Whew, they know how to make it so
well done. And I think it's the best game that they've done yet. It's just really well executed. The art is amazing, animation's amazing, even though I was just playing it on Switch, not in 4K or what have you. It's just a beautiful game, and the story is great. Even if you suck at roguelikes, you get to see a lot of story, even if you're not good at it. It has some nice accessibility features, so absolutely.
It makes it still feel earned. Like, there's a god mode that just buffs your attack, and like there's cool little abilities where it's just like, hey, you get a better rewards if you clear a room faster, or with certain items that you find along the way or unlock. Like, my favorite weapon right now is the spear, which is just a terrific, like, semi long range weapon that just keeps me in a sector of a map that I don't have to, get too risky with it. And you could just augment it to where, like, I don't want to just strike once. I want to strike in a burst, or I want to strike where it's kind of like a conal damage that I'm doing to the enemies. It's something really cool. I don't know right now in my mind, after putting this game down, of what game do I feel like I connect with more, because there's parts of Returnal, like, that story is fantastic. I kind of like the boss fights a bit more in Returnal. And Returnal does a great job of never making you feel safe in terms of like the weapons that drop. Sometimes you just got to make do, which means you have to learn that weapon. Where with Hades,
which for some of the oldsters in the room, like me and Greg, just never get past.
Exactly. Like, I hate this pistol. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
What's this rot? What? Why am I No, I don't like it. But with Hades, there's a little bit of comfort there, where it's just like, okay, I know my play style. It's the spear, or it's the fist, or this cool like gun cannon thing. So I'm going to stick with that. And then it changes slightly as you progress through the game. But that story as well. Like, it's the first time where a story broke my brain in how do they pull this off? Because it's also procedurally generated. So you're like, how How
The
are they doing
script is
this?
something crazy. Like it didn't 8-4 do the translation, and they were saying it was some crazy number of pages too.
Yeah. Like the
It's
dialogue,
huge.
I'm like 10 hours in, I would like to assume, and there's still new dialogue. Like dialogue's
Yeah.
only repeated once for me. I'm
Oh,
still
really?
learning. Yeah, I'm still learning more. And even like, yeah, special like abilities and skills, even after beating the game, like technically in the end game, I'm still finding new stuff to do. So
Hmm.
I love it, man. I can't put it down.
Cool. Yeah, it's a
Thinking
great
about my
game.
next run right now. Do I pick the shield? Do I beat Captain America? Or do I stick with Spear? I don't know.
There you go. There you go.
That's
Was that
been
all
my TED
you?
Talk.
Was that all you got this week, or were you playing anything else?
I've been playing a little bit of Axiom Verge.
Yeah.
That game, a little bit too difficult for me, guys.
Too difficult. Wait, what?
Yeah. There's something you guys got to know about me. When it comes to anything side scrolling or just platforming in general, I am going to fall. I'm going to fail just so hard in spectacular fashion. It took me 20 minutes to find out where the secret door in the first 5 minutes of that game was. It's behind a bookshelf. And I'm like, where's this bookshelf? I was lost. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful game. I love the little grappling hook that you have in it. That adds to the Metroidvania like style of it. I understand why people love it, but right now for me, I'm like, these little spider things just keep kicking my butt, and I can't stand it anymore. I can't.
I started playing this as well, and it also started kicking my butt. But early on in the game, you get this power or this ability with ZR where you can like hack into the machines, and of course you have to hold down ZR to charge it up. But if you do it fast enough, you can either make those machines self-destruct or make them move slower. So you can use there's like a secondary, it's almost like magic points. You can use like a secondary gauge to like buy your way through that. It helps quite a bit. And you unlock new abilities for that as you power up your little skill tree. So that may help you. I don't know.
It may, but I'm also just thinking like, because like how you shoot, it's like you have like the like straight up down, then you have like the diagonals, and
The diagonal, yeah.
it's very it's very, I guess, like strict in its movement, I guess is the term I'd like to use. This is why I'm never reviewing
It's
anything.
doing like, yeah, the main directions, 8-way.
Thank you.
That's
Look
it.
at that. It's like you
Yeah.
did this for a living or something. For me, I can't get over that. It just
Yeah.
it's something that I think that's my main problem with it is I want to get the precision down, and I just it doesn't allow me to. And
Yeah, to me, like it's since you can't like in Metroid, you can usually like lock yourself in one position and shoot diagonally. In this, I don't think you can.
you can, they don't tell you directly that you can.
Oh no.
Which messed me up a little bit. So you can
I missed
stand in
it.
place. Yeah, you can stand in place. They never really tell you. But even then, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna aim diagonal, and I'm gonna wait until this thing passes into my boomerang or whatever I'm using.
Yeah.
Like, or else I'm screwed. And
Okay.
sometimes it takes a lot of patience where like I'm waiting, and then right as he's about to hit, he's like, "No, I'm just gonna go back." I'm like, no, come, it's a little bit further.
Yeah.
A little further, please.
Well, the good thing is that there are save points at a pretty decent pace, like nice checkpoints, and those refill your life bar. They refill everything when you use them.
Yeah.
So I find if I happen to like get to a room where my ass is getting kicked, I'll go back to the save point real quick, and it doesn't respawn those enemies as long as you haven't been killed.
Okay.
So I do that a lot. I backtrack to get to that save point, get a recharge, and then continue forward. I got to this part where you're fighting mainly underwater. And with every Metroidvania, like, you know, there are those bits where you come to a dead end and you know that there's a way to get past it, but you just haven't gotten that ability yet. And so there was this underwater area where I'm like, there are platforms here that I should be able to make, but it's just like 3 feet too short. My jump just isn't good enough. And then like in the next room over, oh, here's a bit longer jump for when you're in the water. So
Yeah.
Can
I like those
progress.
elements. I really do like those elements where it's just like, oh, I got this thing and I could go back here now.
Yeah.
I love that. But sometimes the game just, again, it doesn't tell me a lot. And I get it. It's trying to be very much like the NES, SNES game, and they do it to a perfect fault because they're just it's relentless.
So are you a Metroidvania fan, or have you played Super Metroid?
Never.
Never.
Metroid Dread will be. Everybody hold on to something.
Oh, gee.
My first Metroid game.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Being
First
a poor
Metroid.
Hispanic kid, that's how it happens.
Okay, that's fair.
Blockbuster being 4 miles away in upstate New York. That's how it happens. Or no, 5 miles away. That's how
There
it
you
happens.
go. There you go.
And we would have to listen. Me and my brother, we would have to rationalize it. It's like, okay, do we get Super Mario Kart or do we get Super Metroid? And
Two
my
players.
brother. Exactly.
That's a good point. That's
That's
fair.
fair.
So you're not so the Metroidvania genre. Have you played other games that are similar to this in style, or do you generally stay away from that genre?
So I've heard, and maybe you guys can correct me here, that like the closest thing to like a modern like Castlevania or a Metroid style-esque game would be like a Soulsborne-esque type of game where there's secret entry points that you could find, shortcuts that you could find, things that you get to later on. So it'd probably be Bloodborne, which was a game of the last generation. I don't know if you guys know that.
I've heard
Yeah,
that
I
recently
played
on a
that for a while.
podcast.
Yeah, I can't tell you the days right now because the Google's calendar isn't here, but it's upwards of the 2000s.
Yes.
But yeah, that's it. Like that's so I'm
Hmm.
really excited. Like, you know, the rumored Castlevania collection, not rumored Metroid Dread, to see what all the hype's about. I get excited when people with fandoms gets excited for the thing that they want.
Right.
It always fills me with a little bit of joy.
If you have a chance
Mhm.
and you've never played it, Symphony of the Night.
Okay.
Play just give Symphony of the Night a shot. Because you're playing sort of one of the high watermarks of that type of genre, pre 3D, like, you know, before you're talking. I think you're right. Like, you're talking about Souls, and that's sort of a 3D style of it as well, right? Like,
Definitely.
Metroid Prime is very good too. But yeah, like Castlevania Symphony of the Night is just like right at the top of the list for me, anyway.
See,
for
every
that
time
kind of
I'm
thing.
like, oh, I want to, play Symphony of the Night. People will be like, okay, but what version do you think you want to? Because there are different ports, there are different, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like the PS4 one that came out, they're like, no, you don't want. And so that's where because people will step in and they're like, that was a lousy port of this game. I'm gonna give you a thesis as to why. And I'm like, you can stop right there. All right, but also I just want to let the record be shown that it's been 2,336 days since the launch of Bloodborne, and I count.
There you go.
That's important to me. No, I will get to, like, I want to try Metroid or Super Metroid. I want to try Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Those are the games that I need to play because I have a really bad like blind spot for certain games.
Yeah, I mean, you'll know what everyone's talking about. You know what I mean? Like I think there are probably games that people enjoy more. I mean, those games are both old now.
That's true.
But they kind of set the stage for everything that followed.
Well, some of it can be pretty obtuse too. Like Super Metroid doesn't have a lot of tutorial stuff in it. Like, and maybe you might like that, being that you're a Soulsborne fan. I'm not sure.
Okay. I know I just said I have a problem when games don't tell me stuff. But I love when games tell you stuff without necessarily telling you stuff.
Right. They still let you discover on your own.
Yeah. I love the sense of discoverability. That's why, like, I love Bloodborne so much. It's the best first level of any video game. You got fight me on it. Tells you exactly what you should expect out of that game in the first 30 minutes. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like that, where it holds my hand, but I don't necessarily feel the grip, that's great. That's what I want.
Okay.
So is that what these games are going to offer me? Or if it's like a JRPG where it's just like, we're going to give you 45 minutes of exposition, 45 minutes of instructions, play for 5 minutes, and then the cat's going to tell you to go to sleep.
Yeah, no,
those are
these-
like new.
they
That's
aren't like
new
that.
RPGs
Okay.
that do that, which I also can't stand.
Yeah.
Like it just loses me. What was it Bravely Default 2? I wanted to be excited about it. I was a big fan of the first game on 3DS, and then I played the demo, and it was so very talky, barely any action, and I was like, forget it. I'm not getting this game at all. So, oh well.
Okay.
Anyway, back to Axiom Verge 2.
Yes, please.
I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I have not yet. Apparently, there's an invincibility mode that you can turn on at any time that you want. Yeah.
Does that affect the
accessibility.
the pacifist mode?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I don't know.
When I was playing this game, I'm like, how do people do without shooting a gosh dang thing? How are we doing this?
Interesting. Well, and also you're playing on PlayStation. I'm playing on Switch, so you have trophies to consider. I don't. So
Oh, okay.
I'm not worried about the platinum or anything like that.
You're unchained by the burden that is a platinum trophy.
That's right. I don't care about that stuff anymore. There was a time early in this podcast life that I did, but not anymore. So I haven't touched that yet. I haven't needed to. I felt like the game has progressed pretty well. I haven't been stuck for too long on anything. I have a couple issues with like the map. I wish I could scroll that a little closer. I guess I'm playing primarily in handheld mode, and my eyes are old. I have bifocals now, so gotta
humble
get
brag.
really close to the screen. Like, look at this stuff, and I just can't quite tell. I appreciate that the map has like, outlines on the rooms that don't have passageways through. Like that makes it a little bit easier to determine where I'm supposed to go next. But I unlocked that little drone thing, and you go into like some special areas with the drone, and the graphics are a little bit chunkier in some of those. And in the water area that I just went past, there is a portal for one of those areas, but I can't figure out how to get in there. And so I'm just a little bit stuck on that. But it's one of those things where I see an area I will eventually be able to get to, will be able to interact with, but I just don't have that whatever power up is. Also, I really don't like the font. The font is hard to read.
I'm already at a disadvantage being dyslexic. So like that, yes. The font
it's hard to
fun.
read. It's not good.
Are you playing portable or on TV?
I'm playing in handheld mainly.
Oh wow, because I know you said you got bad eyesight. I got dumb hands, so I can't. My carpal tunnel comes in to play 30 minutes into a Switch game. So
okay, there you go. And I did not finish the original Axiom Verge, so I don't know if the stories are tied. It's a different character that you play in this one, but I don't know how everything is tied up.
It's tied together from what I've little knowledge of the first game with the company that's running the scene.
Oh, okay. Because you traveled back in time, I think, maybe forward in time. One of those. It's one of those.
It's one of those.
Like in your right
forward
time.
or back.
Yeah,
it's forward or back, and you're trying to like set up a portal to get to your correct time.
It's more like a Stargate situation. That's how I read into it.
Okay.
Accidentally opened up a Stargate. You're in a universe.
Different time. Different universe. Okay. But I'm enjoying it. And I like platform games like this, like 2D. That's my jam. Metroidvania. Although I have to admit, I never finished Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and even though I've tried several times, but yeah, I'll stick with it. It seems good so far, and I haven't had any problem with any of the bosses. I did go up against the first like boss character and was able to beat that without too much hassle. So I also finished The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. Done.
Congratulations.
Finished the game tape. Thank you.
How is it? Because I know you were liking it. I think the last episode two ago.
I
And you're like,
really
nice.
like it.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best Zelda games. I think the story, it's right
Blasphemy.
up there towards the top. Right up there.
Okay.
Towards the top.
Better than Breath of the Wild? Where's that falling?
Absolutely.
Well, Breath of the Wild doesn't have any stories. So
yeah, Breath of the Wild has
easy to beat
basically
that
no
one.
story.
That's why I love you guys. This is why I love you guys. This is why I tune in every week.
Skyward Sword, great story. And part of it is that, throughout the game, as you do these dungeons, you're like chasing after Zelda for half the game with, so she hasn't been like kidnapped or anything like that. You're not trying to save the princess. You're just trying to like protect her and chase after her. But then like you meet up with her and there's this whole time mechanic. And at the very end of the game, there's a really cool cinematic that plays during the credits where it shows some of the main like dungeons of the game from her perspective, like what happened before you got there. It's really fun. I like that a whole lot. And Groose as a main character or as a character in the game is just fantastic. Like I think he's written very, very well. I think the writing in this game is maybe some of the best that the Zelda series has ever had.
Nice.
So really enjoyed it this time around. Finished it. It's great. And I played it mostly portably in handheld mode with the button controls. I did not play at all with the motion controls and did not find it to be too difficult. The one thing I do wish they had done is taught shield techniques more. They kind of like when you're in the Faron Woods, you get these little tree guys that pop up and fire something at you that you can fire back at them with the shield. But they don't really teach you how to use the shield in sword combat as much. And that comes into play a lot during the last couple boss encounters. And it just would have been nice if they had taught that earlier with less dangerous enemies. But a great game. And lastly, I went back to Ghost of Tsushima.
Game of the year 2020. It was robbed.
We got the director's cut coming out this week.
Yeah.
On Friday. So I hopped into the PS4 version. I had stopped because I got to this escort mission that I failed at like 2 or 3 times and I just put it down and another game came out that I went to instead. But anyway, I loaded it up and did the escort mission first time right through. Boom. It was like, why was I ever stuck on this? It was in this village where you're supposed to lead these people to the forge. And instead of going around the town, like where the guards were, I had been going right through the middle of the town, trying to beeline it to the goal. That was the wrong approach. It's completely the wrong approach. So I went around this time, didn't encounter any enemies, finished it right away, and then played for like another 2.5 hours. And I was like, oh man, I'm really enjoying this. So I went off of Skyward Sword, which is a very linear game, to Ghost of Tsushima, which is a nice open world game. You can pretty much pick the order that you do things in, and was enjoying it quite a bit. So I think I'm going to enjoy.
What actor are you on right now? Thinking 2.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. It's
one,
fun.
Probably 1. I don't know.
That game is something special. I can't wait to go back to it. All the PS5 enhancements. I know I gotta pay $10, but I'll pay a good shilling for it. It's
$10 until the 20th, and then it goes up to $20.
Oh boy.
So I already pre-bought. I'm ready to go.
I'm in. Let's do it.
And I haven't played any of the Legends mode, which I believe you've played a bunch of that.
Yes. I didn't get to play the raid because I didn't have enough friends. But playing this the horde mode that they give you, oh my goodness, it is so much fun. I can't wait. They have a nude mode coming out where it's semi PvP. It's kind of like you're playing on 2 different planes and you're racing towards the finish line, and you can send like harder bosses, or you can kind of mess with the opposing team in little clever ways. So I really can't wait to see how that mode plays out. Apparently a lot of people are like, it's like the one Destiny 2 mode Gambit. So I can't wait to see what, because they really have something special on the multiplayer end if they're able to capitalize on it. And I think they are, man. Sucker Punch is so talented. So.
They really are.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what they do next. Probably more Ghost of Tsushima, and that'll be fine. Down. Eventually, they'll get back to Sly Cooper, and I'll be okay with that too.
I saw somewhere on the internet where it's like a whisper of another Sly Cooper game. And
I'd be down for that.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Sure. I'm into it. Yeah.
That's one of my blind spots. I got to play, I think Jak 1, over the spring.
Mm-hmm.
What an awesome little series. Let's
Oh,
go.
yeah. Those Sony platformers from the early
3 Sony
2000s.
platformer series that all came out at the same time.
Well, they
within
came
a year of
out
each other.
within a few months of each other.
Yeah.
I think Ratchet and Sly came out like 30 days
Jak
of each
came
other.
out. Well, I think Jak came out, and then Ratchet and Sly came out around the same time as Jak 2. They both started a year later, I think.
I think you're right.
As a kid, I always went Ratchet. I was a Ratchet stan.
Ratchet was the best.
Yeah.
Ratchet is
They were the best
was
games.
great.
Sly was great, but Ratchet was the best, I think.
Lasted the test of time.
It's true. Very true.
Take that, Joe.
All right, Greg.
So for what I've been playing this week, I want to bring up that I've been playing more F1 2021, and it seems like they finally fixed everything with the latest round of patches, which is nice. Because speaking as someone who anyone who's listening to the show for quite a while knows that the F1 games normally make it into my top 5 every year. And I think it's well deserved. They're very good games, but it seemed like the bugs that were sort of surfacing in this year's version were pretty bad, worse than I remember seeing. And I mean, I've been playing these probably for about 10 years. Well, ever since Codemasters took over the license. So I think it's been like a decade yearly, and playing them a lot every year. And I don't remember a year where the game struggled this hard at the beginning of its life cycle. And it seemed like every time they patched one thing, they broke something else. So I'm happy now. In the past week, I played it a little bit more, and it seems like they've ironed out a lot of the bugs that were really noticeable, at least. So I just want to say that, really happy about that. It seems to be playing well again. It seems to be running well online and off. I haven't run into any weird saving bugs or anything like that.
What are you playing on? If
PlayStation 5.
Okay, because I hear that is the most busted version. Where
it was bad. Yeah. It was really bad. The 3D audio was causing a lot of bad glitching. There was apparently a save bug that I, thank God, didn't run into. There was when they turned off, all the fancy lighting and stuff like that, because apparently that was breaking everything.
Right. Yeah. The ray tracing.
They patched
turned
off the ray tracing.
Put it back in, and then they took audio.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. It was like general basic performance things that were just completely broken. So yeah, they turned off ray tracing to fix something. They turned off 3D audio because that was causing terrible audio bugs that you couldn't fix. You couldn't like reset or anything like that unless you just turn the whole thing off. And then for a while, the flashback system, which is, the standard, roll back you made a mistake, roll everything back and try again. That was just, for some reason, it disappeared for a while. It was bad. But it seems to be better now. And I'm glad, because again, as someone who's been playing these games for like a decade now, from a design perspective, this is the best one I think they've made. Which makes it such a shame that the first month or so of its life has been all about these bugs and nothing else. So, hopefully,
welcome to video games in 2021, right?
Man. And I mean, I'm not naive. I know that this happens a lot, but I just haven't seen it happen this badly to a game that I was so into for quite a while. So, anyway, seems fixed. Fingers crossed it stays fixed. Who knows? And then the other game that came out this week that I'm actually another racing game, that I've been waiting for quite a while, is called The Art of Rally, or just Art of Rally, which is free on Game Pass. That's how I played it. So this is it's a rally racing game, but it's like a love letter to rally racing, which is what I was so excited about with it. So, rally racing, along with a lot of motorsport, has a very long history, and some very iconic cars, especially when you go back to like the Group B series, which were just these monstrous rally racing
I think
cars.
some people are racing in
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Joe's
great.
backyard.
And also
Every night they do it. Every night. Drag
and
racing,
because of
Cody
rally racing, and it's sort of just intrinsically has sort of beautiful landscapes that you deal with, and these historic cars also have historic liveries that a lot of us have very fond memories of. Like anybody who's been around racing a long time might have like very fond memories of like the Gulf Oil livery, with the blue and orange Gulf Oil livery. It's very, very recognizable from a distance, and it has not really much to do with the product as much as it has to do with the beautiful colors and the way that they were, on the car. Same with like the Martini livery, the red, blue, and I think navy blue stripes over white and stuff like that. Just beautiful cars. And so Art of Rally basically is like a history lesson of rally racing, where I don't believe anything's licensed, but they've basically modeled cars that are close enough to these historic rally cars and that have these liveries, but without all the product placement. So like, if you have like the Gulf livery, it's just the orange, it's the blue with the orange stripe and that sort of thing. And then it's basically like, okay, I think it might start in the 60s, maybe 70s. And you get to go out and just run these different rallies, these historic rallies throughout the years and throughout the decades, and unlock more and more of these cars. And it's got sort of this really simple art, this like simple sun-drenched sort of art style. It really reminds me of Firewatch, actually.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, that's the best I could come up with. That was actually what I was searching for while you guys were talking earlier, because I was trying to think if there's anything else, but that's really what it reminds me of. So it's all very simple, very bright and colorful. You don't play down in like a cockpit mode or even really that close to the car. It's almost an overhead view that you're racing in at all times. And it really, you are racing and trying to get a good time, but it really has way more to do with using all these different classic rally cars on all these beautiful courses and just sort of enjoying it. And so I was playing it a fair bit this week, and I really love what they're doing. I'm a big motorsports fan anyway, and I have, reverence for the history of a lot of these different motorsports. So I love seeing somebody doing this. I've said for years that I'd like to see somebody do something just exactly like this, but for Grand Prix racing, for all the same reasons. But I will say that I'm not totally sold on the controls on this.
Oh, really?
I shouldn't say the controls, the physics. I haven't really come to grip with the physics. I don't feel like I'm in as much control as I'd like to be of my car. And maybe that's on purpose. These cars were notoriously hard to control. And it's not frustrating in any way, but because of the presentation, you never really know if you're doing well or not.
It seems like, because I'm watching one of the videos, it seems like you're very like bottom heavy with these cars. At least the car I'm seeing on screen.
Yeah, and I'm sure as you get into it, that changes too, because of course, whether it's a 4-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive or anything like that, and you got to get used to using the handbrake on things. And it might just be the perspective of how far back you are. It's hard to judge how much speed you're carrying into some of the sharper turns, and when you really want to sort of yank on the handbrake and get the rear end to really come around for you. But I've only messed with it for a couple hours and I'm enjoying it, but I'm kind of, for all the reasons I love it, I'm trying to wrap my head around what it doesn't have and sort of appreciate that it's just more about the experience than it is about like knowing exactly how much faster or slower I am than the best time on this course at all times. Like there's not a big stopwatch on the screen at all times, as far as I remember. You don't really know how you're doing until you get to the end of the course.
Seems like there's no HUD. It's very sparse in that way.
Yeah, and it's on purpose.
Painterly graphics.
Yes,
I love the lighting for what I'm seeing as well.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way to sort of overcome what I think would always be a major blocker for something like this, which is if you wanted to go in and go super realistic, you'd have to license a bunch of cars. Some of these are from companies that don't even exist anymore. You'd have to license a bunch of, oil companies and cigarette companies, which you wouldn't even be allowed to show anyway. You know, like there would be so many roadblocks and it would be so expensive. And I love that they sort of went the indie game route of this, you know, where it's just very simple. They don't have to worry about AI for other cars because it's just rally. You're out there by yourself, basically. Or the idea being the other cars are so far away that you never come across them. And you get to sort of enjoy it and sort of take this wonderful trip down memory lane or just through history, because a lot of this stuff is from before I was born too. It's a great way to do it. I love the idea, which means I'm really pulling for it, and I want to keep playing it because I want to like the physics more than I do. That's sort of my only issue with it right now. But so
how
glad it's
difficult
finally
is
out.
the
I've been watching
racing
it for a long
itself?
time.
Like how
difficult is it? Not difficult.
Not
like
difficult?
I say, for as much as I feel like I'm struggling, I'm still finishing like first or second in every stage.
Okay.
So, and I'm not, even when like you can damage your car, you have to do a lot to damage the car from what I've noticed. Cause I feel like I've even rolled it a couple times and then gotten like a no damage bonus at the end. So, you know, I think it's based on wear, and I think it's very generous, which makes sense again, because it feels like the experience of the historic cars and the landscapes is just as important as the competition in this game. So it makes total sense. So I'm really enjoying it. If you're a fan of sort of the history of racing, especially of rally, it's on Game Pass. So you should try it out, and it's very easy to get into. It just sort of throws you in.
I see.
Yeah,
I dig it. I actually did want to try this game out because it was on Game Pass. I ran into a bug where it constantly wanted me to authenticate that I was a Game Pass user.
Oh no.
Really?
Yeah. So
oh wow.
I gotta re-download it. It seems because it will not.
Yeah.
let
No,
me
I
through.
didn't hit that at all.
Okay.
So hopefully that was just a one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks neat, man.
Cool. Is that it there, Greg?
That's it.
All right. Well, I guess that means it's time for tweets.
Tweet. I have nightmares.
Even when he's not here.
Yep.
No, he's here. It's just
He's always
off
here.
screen. Always. All right, let's do this one from Hacker Alias Insipid Ghost,
I've heard of him.
who says PlayStation's communication has been odd, at least seemingly in comparison to Xbox or even Nintendo. Does this compare to previous first parties over the years, or is it unique?
I don't know, but because we're not really in the industry anymore and not in the games press anymore, but I will say from experience that especially Sony and Microsoft seem to flip-flop generation to generation.
Yeah.
CJ, do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Right, because when Sony came in with the first PlayStation, they were super helpful with developers and publishers.
Yep.
It seemed is the story you heard, right?
They were trying out a lot of ideas and throwing a lot of things against the wall. Party. Yeah.
And then it seemed like it kind of carried a little bit to the PlayStation 2, although the PlayStation 2 was harder to develop for. And then when the Xbox came in, Microsoft was super pro developer and pro publisher in a big way. And then we hit like PS3, and they, Sony was famously like, get a second job to buy a PS3 and blah, blah, blah. And they were just not anymore.
Yeah.
And Microsoft was. And then it seemed like it flipped again. And from what I've heard. So I don't know if they still do that, but it seemed very cyclical. It was almost like whoever was the most popular the previous generation got harder to work with.
Well, do you think this question is, I mean, you took the question as meaning industry, like is their communication with developers unique? What I take this question as is as communication with consumers. Do we feel like it's changed over the years?
I think first I want to get this out of the way because a lot of people ask me, Joe, is your beef with Insipid Ghost real? I say absolutely. He is honestly one of the worst individuals I've ever met. A horrible influence.
All right.
Go watch XCP.
He said something similar when he came into the chat earlier.
yeah, I bet he did. I bet he's a real so-and-so. But I I think it's changed, but not the reasons that we think it is. Because yeah, usually there's always a paradigm shift, right? Like there's always like one company's on top, the other company is in second place, and then they do the old switcheroo the next generation. And I think it all goes back to, I think a little bit of that. I think there's a little bit of arrogance there, especially how some developers feel like last few weeks. Indies talking about how difficult PlayStation is to work with. But I think a lot of it in terms of the consumer end, when 2020 rolled around, this global panorama that we're in, PlayStation announced that it was throwing millions of dollars into its infrastructure for work from home. And a lot of us, I think, took that as a good sign. And I think in actuality, it was them saying, we don't have any infrastructure in how to deal with this whatsoever.
Mhm.
And I think in terms of Microsoft, because they make the technology that is able to, for us to work at home, much easier shift. So PlayStation had to deal with, their partners with, Atlas with Persona, Final Fantasy VII with Square. They had to launch Last of Us. They had to launch Ghost of Tsushima, and then the PS5 on top of that. And so for everything that was thrown at them and the kitchen sink, they did pretty well. But I think this year they're kind of catching their breath, and Microsoft's in this position where they know that there's a paradigm shift, the wins behind their sales, that people are looking at them in a different light because of all the awesome things that they've done in Game Pass. Like they're always in the news, they're always talking. And usually, these companies don't talk unless they have something. And Microsoft constantly has like drops on Game Pass. They always share their numbers about how many people are using Game Pass, and they're talking about how developers love it. They're making so much money off of it. This, that, the other thing. The PlayStation's kind of sitting back going, okay. And Ratchet and Clank came out. Returnal did numbers.
Yeah.
And when we think about it, it's like PlayStation with the PS5 launched, Miles Morales, Demon Souls, Sackboy, I'll count Astrobot, Returnal. Let's not forget Godfall, and Ratchet and Clank. Right? They've launched over 6 or 7 Destruction All Stars. How can I forget that masterpiece? They've launched 7 or 8 exclusive games. Some not so great, Godfall, Destruction, but some stellar games like Ratchet and Clank, like Miles, like Demon Souls. And we're still like, yeah, but Sony, why aren't you talking to us?
Right.
Which is like, dude, we gave you like almost a dozen games this year. What more do you want? And we're like, but we're hungry.
So do you think that the fact that they're sort of on a still a sort of a standard release cycle where it's, big AAA games, because I think you're right. I think their output's been quite good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But like you were saying with Game Pass, how Microsoft's always got something to talk about, like on a weekly basis almost. Do you
Yeah.
feel like through no fault of its own, there's a perception that Sony isn't being communicative enough, even if they probably are?
I think there's that. I think that there's also we're trying to see what, because again, I think we're so used to them being a shift. There's has to be an obvious winner, where this generation, both of them are doing well. And so, we take a look at the things that Sony may not be doing well on, like on the trophy room, we call it dumb delivery of how they are transitioning into cross-generation games with their cross saves and cross progression. It's not great, actually really bad. And we're taking a look at that going, okay, so is this the thing that's going to make people Xbox users? Like what's the mistake that they're going to make? And then it's not an obvious tell. While at the same exact time, we're like, who's our new dad called Jim Ryan? We don't trust him. He looks shifty. I don't know who he is. And so
Right.
it's we're kind of, I feel like the PlayStation community, and I want to discount the toxic folks that you see on Twitter that are always angry. We're kind of worried because we don't know what PlayStation we're getting. And we're just concerned because we're seeing Xbox dropping these huge announcements, buying Bethesda, having their best E3 ever. Like that was a
Where
stellar
Sony
show.
wasn't even there.
And we're still like, Sony, you got to do one. And Sony's like, we'll talk to you in a few weeks. I don't know when.
At some point.
Some point. Take my word for it.
I mean, I think it's interesting too, because Xbox has this interesting strategy where they launched a console with no big exclusive launch title, right? But the way that they've been going about their communication with fans is just to create a brand that is maybe overly communicative, where you've got them tweeting from Xbox Game Pass's account and from ID at Xbox and from the Xbox account. And then you also have Phil Spencer, who's a personality on Twitter, and you have Major Nelson, who's a personality on Twitter, all these other Xbox employees who are like becoming personalities, whereas PlayStation at the moment doesn't really have that same kind of community drive. So you're seeing like tweets from PlayStation and they're very dry, whereas you're seeing like Xbox like really get into it with brands and things like the contest that they had with, I don't know what brand they were up against, but that resulted in them mass producing the Xbox fridge, the Series X fridge.
Oh God, right.
There was some brand they were in competition with, whereas like Sony, that's just not a thing they're going to necessarily do. And then that starts to maybe tilt perception that Sony isn't as much your friend as Xbox is, even though these are corporations, they're not your friend, but there's still like this communication thing that makes them seem like that, right?
Yeah. And at the same token of that, you're like, Xbox is doing all the talking. They're talking to the consumers. They'll even talk to the trophy room from time to time. Like they're very outgoing. And still we're seeing these impressive numbers by the PlayStation 5 of how many units it's selling. So it's like, if I'm Sony counting, the bean counter over there, I'm like, well, are things working like this? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Their social media is still, as much as I find it is, likewise bland. It's still doing what it's doing. It's seeming like it's working. So, I miss the personalities. I don't know how much it really matters in the grand scheme of things, but I think it just helps the fan base have that emotional connection to it,
and also feel like they're having a conversation with their favorite platform, right? I mean, that's what people on the internet want.
But do you feel like they kicked it into overdrive after the botched launch of the Xbox One? Do you feel like we're still sort of seeing the results of that? Because remember, that was terrible. I mean, not even necessarily the launch so much as the reveal with Don Matrick and with all that, and Sony just ate their lunch. Like Sony got so much mileage out of making fun of them for everything they did wrong there.
And when it came to, I remember the Angry Joe video because like with him and Major Nelson, dude, Joe was one syllable away from Nelson telling him to go F himself. Like he was close to the line. Like they were not personable at all. They were very, very just aggressive towards its fan base, similar to that of like the PS3. I think this is very much reactionary of that, better leadership. But also to a degree, I do find Xbox's communication a tad bit annoying as well, and contradictory in certain aspects. So
there's degrees of that for sure.
And it's funny, after all this has been said, I barely touch my Xbox. I play on my PlayStation 5. But I think, I'm just wondering, I think that might be part of it, because I mean, Microsoft was, with the 360, was so great in building community. That was kind of their main focus, where Sony really dropped the ball on that to begin with the PS3. It took them way too long to get there, and they had Major Nelson, be a personality right from the start. And then it felt like after everything that went down with the reveal of the Xbox One, and then when they cleaned house and Phil Spencer took over, they took what they were doing with Major Nelson and they just sort of kicked it into overdrive, and it feels like it's never really slowed down after that.
It brings up an interesting question. Like during the PS3 era, there was a clearer number of like, okay, Xbox is in the lead, Nintendo's doing their own thing, and Sony's like way behind here. Do you think we're in an age where all three of these platforms, even though they're competing against each other, have somehow carved out their own niche where they're gonna do just fine, even if they don't necessarily quote unquote beat the other platform?
Yeah, I think that's what we're in right now. I think they're all doing great. I think Xbox does so well with Game Pass. It's an awesome service. Like, to me, how I use Game Pass is like, oh, if I like this game and I really like it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go download it on my PlayStation. Or gonna download it on my Switch. PlayStation, like, they're known for the big blockbusters. You come and watch what is, what's on display, what they got from you this year, and they've been on a roll since 2015 with that. So that's what we're expecting from them now. And I think that's a thing that's really keeping this brand so invigorated, is the IP are just unmatched.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo gets to disrespect their fan base, and they just accept it. You guys are like, yeah, just give me a can and a wire and we'll communicate that way.
Is it
Who knows its fans better than Nintendo?
Yeah,
nobody.
Well, that's true. Here's the thing: with Nintendo, you can say that it's disrespecting their fans. What I look at it as, Nintendo is much more a corporation that is not trying to be your friend necessarily.
I just love that it's like, I was waiting for you to say, CJ, it's like, you could say Nintendo's disrespecting their fans, but really it's our fault.
Yeah, we allowed it.
I'd like to apologize to Nintendo
It
on
is
behalf
not
of all
our
its fans.
fault. Nintendo is going to do what Nintendo's going to do, right? I mean, they've always done that. It doesn't matter what point in the timeline you go back to. Like, they've been extremely consistent with how much they've disrespected their fans. Let's say that.
Yeah,
you're not wrong.
They're a strange behemoth, because I feel like the bar is, we've set the bar low for Nintendo. Right? Like, we really did. We're just like, yeah, Nintendo's doing its own thing. It's like, no, are they really though? They're making a console. They have family friendly games. Everybody's got some like, why do we give it a pass? It's like, that online service isn't good. The way that they sell us really bad ports. I'm looking at that. Was it the Super Mario 64 ports with Mario Sunshine? Like, that, those were atrocious. And we're like, we'll buy them.
Some of that, but yeah,
exactly. Well,
here it is. Comes the apologist again.
Apologist.
Exactly. Why do we give these guys a pass when, like,
why exactly, Joseph? Exactly.
Well, I'm also part of the problem, Greg. I bought that.
And there it is. The people complaining are also going to be part of the problem, and Nintendo knows that, so they don't have to make those changes, right?
And that's the beautiful thing about Nintendo, is like, they know the truth. They know you're weak.
The reason they haven't made Mario Kart 9.
And it's a bit of
games ever go down in price.
It's a bit of a black box, because you can scream at Nintendo's Twitter all you want, and trust me, look at the replies of any of their tweets, and you'll see plenty of people screaming at Nintendo into the void, basically. But unlike, I think Xbox obviously has reacted to fan reaction to one of their decisions, or a bunch of their decisions, very quickly. Sony also has reacted on occasion to, even though maybe it's taken them a little longer, has reacted to Twitter reaction. Nintendo, they are not going to react. You can have as many signatures on change.org as you want. They are not going to do anything.
They know that the percentage of their fan base that they're fighting over with Sony and Microsoft is so much smaller than the percentage of the fan base that Sony and Microsoft are fighting with each other over.
That's exactly it.
Just wait till Astro Bot 2 comes out. We'll have that plumber scared. Let me tell you.
Apparently they're working on a bigger game now, so I'm
very excited. I love Astro Bot.
All right, let's finish up with this one.
Okay.
From hacker alias Captain Logan, who says there was a discussion about phrases banned from articles in gaming magazines because they were overused. Does Mr. Badbit feel like there are words that are for content? Oh, wait, hold on.
Okay, back up.
Does Mr. Badbit feel like there are words like that for content creators these days, i.e., banger, Souls-like?
Love it.
We've used Souls-like tonight.
We did, yeah. Well, of just the genres that I'm into, but he's right.
Overused terms.
Very right. first off, this is part of our thing with the community that we have. We're great, except there's a few troublemakers that want to use this word called banger. It's so overused. Everybody uses
Like a
it.
sausage?
Well, apparently UK listeners, you'll know, they're like, whoa, that means something totally different over here. But over in the States, it means like, oh my God, this thing's really good. So just say, oh my God, this thing's really good. You don't have to use that word. It's too much. It's too much. But I do agree with Logan. There are terms that I think when we're reviewing something or when we're talking about something that we use as kind of like a get out of jail free card. Like, well, if a game's hard, it's a Souls-like, right? If we have to go back to a point in a level, it's a Metroidvania. Like, it's those terms though that we use. It not so much as a get out of jail free card. When I talk about them or bring them up on the trophy room, it's just a way for you to visualize the concept. And I think there are times where people hang on that a little bit too much, of like, yeah, they're just throwing out, cliff notes of like, here's what, game A, B, or C does, and it's back to a game previously that does that thing. So yeah, I think there are definitely those people use those get out of jail free cards a little bit too much, a little bit too lenient on them.
Yeah.
Because talk about games are difficult. Like, look at CJ and Greg. They did fine. Me, I was just like, oh, it's a game. And I would get nervous.
I don't think so. No. Let's see from the chat. Hidden gem and hot take being overused.
Well, like, hot take, I think, is just an excuse to have a bad opinion.
When you say hot take, it's a bad opinion.
Yeah. Just for me, just say it with confidence, say it with gusto. Just say something is bad. You don't be like, hot take everybody. It's like, prepare for something that's not great.
Yeah.
And that's hidden gem. I get it.
Something that scratches that itch. There you go.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
Hot take fans rejoice.
Exactly. All right. I think that's a good place to stop.
Before we do,
yeah,
want to call out that this coming weekend is Tabletop Appreciation Weekend for Extra Life. And on the 21st, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern, I will be playing board games on Twitch TV/Seward for Extra Life, trying to raise some money for Extra Life with CJ's best friend, Mike, CJ's best friend, Mike's best friend, Jim.
That's right.
And Katie.
Well, board games.
The group of people I play board games with. But we're going to be playing board games for like 6 hours that day. We're going to be playing probably Ticket to Ride, Jamaica, Downforce, probably some Zombie Dice, probably some Coup, and other games I can't remember the name of. But yeah,
Parcheesi?
It's going to be awesome. Pardon me?
Parcheesi?
No, not Parcheesi.
No Parcheesi?
And no Monopoly.
Nope. Oh, Monopoly is
Stratego?
understandable.
What's that?
Stratego?
Stratego. No, it's only 6 hours.
Candyland?
Risk?
I hate you guys. Anyway, just saying, please consider tuning in. Please consider making a donation. Twitch TV/Seward. And then you can get the links there. And that's where I stream it 3 nights a week anyway. But yes, this coming Saturday, the 21st, 11 a.m. Eastern. Please be there.
Cool. That's it. Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, direct that to @P1 Podcast on the Twitters, or you can go to our internet website. Wait a second. I can't do that voice the whole time. You can go to our internet website, player1podcast.com. There you'll find our contact information. You'll find Generation 16 episodes as they happen.
Those are awesome. And hey, you know what else you can find? Is a Let's Read of Pocket Games #1. First magazine I ever worked on.
Yeah. I'll have to watch that.
You should watch that. I know you won't, but you should.
Maybe I will. Maybe. And you'll also find show notes and links to all the things that we talked about during this episode, and a link to our Discord server where you can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners.
If you would like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by going to player1podcast.com or to your favorite podcast listening app.
Yeah.
I don't remember the rest of this, but we're on a lot of
Stitcher.
different things. We're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, we're on other places. CJ,
Yes.
name them.
I like Greg. You ended it with a question mark. That's very powerful.
Yeah. We're everywhere.
Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify,
Google Podcasts,
anywhere pods
there you
are
go.
caught.
Anywhere pods are caught, casted.
I'm quoting Jeff Grubb here. Anywhere pods are caught.
Who's Jeff Grubb?
That guy in our chat.
Oh yeah, right. He's like super fan. I love that guy.
He's a games journalist.
Yep.
A real games journalist.
A new games journalist.
It's new games journalism.
If you like to check us out live, you can do so most weeks on Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to use Eastern.
Wait,
because
what?
I'm on the East Coast.
Heresy.
On youtube.com/P1 podcast or on Twitter or on Facebook. We simulcast to all of those, I believe.
Yeah.
CJ can correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, you're right.
And then we actually publish the audio on Tuesdays. So please, come listen. It's fun. It's a good time. Lots of hot takes in our chat. And if you would like to support the show, because CJ desperately needs some furniture for that wall back there. My God.
We're moving soon, so I'm never going to get any.
CJ's got to buy a house. There you go.
Right. I gotta find some furniture for the house.
You can go to patreon.com/P1 podcast, and there you can become a supporter of the show. Keeps the lights on, keeps the servers running, keeps CJ in new houses, I guess.
No.
We have to pay our guests.
That's right.
Wait, no.
I was promised
Don't tell Joe.
$5,000.
5,000. Yeah, but it's Canadian dollars, so you're not even gonna be able to afford Starbucks with that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, and if you are a supporter of the $5 variety,
cheap.
Thank you very much. You get access to our weekly after show where we crack wise, we make stupid. Well, Phil's not here. We won't be making stupid jokes this week, but we normally have some form of contest, either like a Jeopardy or a review contest. CJ, what have we got this week?
It is a review game from the August 1998 issue of Die Hard Game Fan.
Oh, wow. Word salad 1998 style.
Yep.
I hope you brought dressing. All right. So yeah. Hey, you should check that out. And if you're not sure if you would like that sort of thing, CJ actually posts old after shows on the feed every Thursday
night.
Every Thursday night. They're 2 years old. So if you want them fresh, be a $5 supporter. I think that's it. I think that's a show. Joe, can I call you Joe?
Yes.
Joe, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. This is
a
awesome.
Pleasure. Yeah.
It was. Likewise.
Can you tell the people again where they can find you?
Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'll give it my best shot. Thank you again for having me. If you like what you heard, I don't see why not. Like, come on. Look at this sultry voice. It's great. Look at this beautiful face.
It's very NPR.
Great. I know, right? Everybody says I have a lovely voice, and I don't know how I sound like a gremlin. Nonetheless, you can find me over at the Trophy Room. Again, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, greatest, all things PlayStation each and every Thursday. This week, we had this small up-and-comer named CJ, Chris Johnson, on the show. This little show called Player One Podcast. And I got to tell you, we got off the call, and I thought it was a terrific show. I think it's one of our best. So make sure you go listen to that, and make sure you're subscribed, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. Rate us 5 stars. Really does help us out. Grows a big, beautiful family that I call home. And you can check out the video content once I'm done hitting the mic over at youtube.com/PS Trophy Room. Just type in the Trophy Room and you'll find us there. So yeah. And again, thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Thanks
this is fantastic. And thank you for having me on the Trophy Room. That was a lot of fun. People should definitely go check that out. And Trophy Room is a fantastic PlayStation podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. We try our best every single week.
Yep.
Yeah.
CJ.
Yeah.
Thank you for hosting.
No problem. I do that every week.
Bang up job. You're the reason I come here. And hey, as for me, if you want to check out any of my other stuff, remember Twitch TV/Stewart 3 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays. I'm streaming for Extra Life. And go check out that that Let's Read video of Pocket Games. I think
Sounds
you'll like
fun.
it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's a show.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Toodaloo.